All right, what is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD mode interview, where every single week we interview top entrepreneurs and just strip top badasses out there dominating their space. These are people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves and for their families. So today, guys, we got a rock star entrepreneur on the show, rock star real estate agent, one of the top realtors in the country, voted by the Wall Street Journal, doing massive, massive things. So really stoked and honored to have Paul Lester on the show. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing awesome. How are you doing?
I'm good. As I said, two things that never happen in Los Angeles. It rains, which it's raining today, and I have a cold. So here's my tea and me, and you can put up with me that way. It's great. So
yeah,
I'd love to be on the show. It's an honor.
Yeah, no, same here, man. Stoked to get you on. I know that you've had a very successful career and continue to create massive success. And before we jump into what you're doing today and how you've built such a successful real estate career, I'm really interested to learn about your journey, though, that led you into this space in the first place. So we were on the clocks back to, high school, college. Like, what led you to becoming an entrepreneur in the first place?
I can take it all the way back to my childhood. Okay, so I got a pretty cool background. I'm lucky, very lucky. I, as a child, traveled all over the world. We lived in about 16 different countries, a lot in the United States, but that helped educate me in how the world works. So I could start there. That's pretty basic. I have a really cool family. They are liberal, took me all over, showed me the world. And from that, I learned how to relate to people. And I think that's one of the biggest things in any business, that you either know how to do it or you don't. And if you don't know how to do it, your business doesn't go anywhere. So I'm all about communication. And so my backstory, I was in college in Connecticut, graduated from Wesleyan University, which is, some of you might know, it's pretty good school. And I had other aspirations at that point, as well as, being in a business of some sort. I, as a child and growing up and traveling, I was very athletic. I broke my leg skiing one year, and as a result of that, I went to a ballet class to get back on my feet, because that was what was really great then, was to figure out your body, figure out your alignment, get strong. And a lot of athletes were doing that then. So that's my high school. And the teacher looked at me and said, "Hey, you know what? You're pretty darn good at this. You should pursue this." So I continued on to college. I got a degree in history and English and all sorts of stuff, but I was also dancing. I took that dancing to New York when I graduated from college, and I went to the Tisch School of Performing Arts, which is in New York City, for a year, thinking, hey, I got to get a degree now, a master's, and I'll have a master's in dance. And what I realized then was what I really needed to be was out in the world, which kind of applies to real estate too. We can talk about it later, but out in the world, performing, dancing, getting a career. And that's what I did. I focused on it. I studied like crazy for a year. And within about 9 months, I had my first professional job. And I never stopped performing for almost 15 years around the world from that point on. What's really cool about that is that career taught me how to be who I am now, and taught me how to do the real estate I'm doing. And I can talk a little bit more about that, but it was pretty informative. And I was very lucky to have experienced, performing the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., in City Center in New York, the Paris Opera in Japan, and all of that worldliness, all of that part of experience, not just the dancing part, taught me again how relative we all are in the world and how we all need to communicate and collaborate. So those are big themes in my real estate work now, and I think part of the biggest success of what I do.
Yeah, one of my favorite all-time pictures is actually of a ballerina, and it says everyone wants to be successful until they see what it actually takes, and then you've got one shoe on, and then the other shoe, and you see the bloody toes, and
right.
And I
don't have those kind of feet.
Yeah.
Most of the girls have that problem, but I'll tell you, you can't trade it for anything. It's like being an Olympic athlete, and the kind of focus that takes to get to where you are as an expert in your field is the same kind of focus that I use right now in my real estate work. And it has to do with, I call it, there's like 4 words that I like to alliterate, which is what dance was about and what it's about now for me, commitment, consistency, communication, and collaboration. So those four things, and I can lead it all up into the agency, but those are some of the basic principles of why we're so successful now as real estate agents, especially as a company. So, but to back it up to that taught me everything. So yeah, it's pretty intense. It's very intense. I can't explain it to somebody who doesn't get it. But if you watch an Olympic athlete, at the Olympics, and you see what kind of world they live in, how they train every day, it's the same thing as what you do now. You live and breathe what you do and what you love to do. And so I'm doing that now with what my work is all about.
Yeah, I love it, man. I mean, the discipline. We had a United States Olympic wrestler that was on the show at one point, and he said that if you want to take it to that level, you got to be willing to commit suicide in every aspect of your life. Other than that, he's like, you're committing financial suicide, social suicide. If you're not chips all in, it's not going to happen.
Listen, I lost half my friends when I left college, and I said I'm going to dance in New York and do this thing. I mean, sure, I gained a lot of other friends in the dance world, but all the guys that were my buddies and my girlfriends that went off to law school and med school and all that stuff, and they kind of stayed close. I had to be focused every single day on what I was doing. So
you're doing that, man, and you have a really successful, career of 15 years of doing that. Like, what leads you into real estate compared to maybe going into, coaching and teaching or some, I mean, like going from dancing to real estate, that's kind of like a, how that
think about it. It's pretty simple. Okay. Dance this is how I think of it anyway. Dance is like architecture of the body. Okay, you're always thinking about how you're working in the world and how your body's working, and you're trying to perfect it. So I was all about relationship of space and architecture, and I think if I hadn't been a dancer, I would have gone on to become an architect. So that interest led into doing design work, because I was fading my career out as a dancer. You get old at a certain point, okay, and you move on to the next thing, but you move on with the same values that you had from my career as a dancer. So what's cool about that is that I took that energy and focused it so specifically in design work, which was kind of related to like creating and like moving in dance, and that developed into working with clients that also were interested in architecture, and that was in New York. And then I made a transition for a number of reasons out to LA at that point. And in the first year I was here, and I was redoing the property and creating the space and really getting into that, this realtor who I'd worked with to buy a house there said, "You'd be really good at this. You've got all those connections and all that focus and all that communication. Maybe you want to try and do some real estate too, because it all ties together here." So that was the beginning. I started and I didn't stop, and it has just gone, up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love it, man. So okay, so you're one in real estate, right? Because we're in an industry where 90% don't make it in the first 3 years. And then I heard a stat not too long ago, 93% of realtors that do make it would make more money working at McDonald's than doing the business. So, a lot of people have this perception these realtors make all this money because they see guys like you that are very successful, but it's such a small percentage that actually do very well. What did you do like in those first couple years to ensure that you weren't a statistic? Because you're in a new city, new space.
So to go back to those things, the communication, the collaboration, the commitment, and the consistency. What I did was I applied the same kinds of focus that I had in my other careers before in this career. And how I did that was staying relatable and relating to people. You can talk, realtors have all sorts of ways of doing it if you're comfortable in different mediums. You can do, hard campaigns, you can do mailings, you can do all sorts of stuff that grows your career, sign up for people that can generate a personality for you or whatever. But for me, it was all about, like, I know who I am. I'm just going to be that person really well every day and show up with all the different people that I'm in the community with. And that's going to get me work. And I'll tell you, my whole career, even though I do a lot of advertising now, that's not where it's based. It's based in all of those people and the referrals. I think that's maybe the biggest lesson for people to learn when you're younger and you're starting out. Like, hey, I can get a social media account, I can get an Instagram, I can Snapchat, I can do all this stuff, which is all important today. But if you don't have this thing to stand behind all that in a real way, those people are going to sniff it out and they don't care. They want to. Doesn't matter as much social media as we have today. If you don't have a one-on-one relationship with people at some point, maybe it's just on the phone or Skype like this, but or you're in real time, it's not going to go anywhere. That's the plain simple fact, at least for me. So how did I do it in those the first 3 years were hard because I was focusing on learning the business, mentoring with someone, and I was very lucky. I worked with someone who was already at the top of their game. She was the head of the Beverly Hills board of realtors. So I'm walking into this. I'd like to think I had some sophistication already. So she was like, yeah, you can work with me. And I knew some people, but her connections in the real estate world were pretty vast because she was already there. And those first 3 years were really informative to me, and I made very little money. I mean, I was maybe the McDonald's salary at that point, but I stuck it out. I hung in there, and surely and slowly I started to add my own clients to that. And I don't know how else to say it to people that are starting in a business like this, or I don't know, any business. You got to love what you do. You have to spend all your time doing it. You said, commit suicide financially or all those things, with your friends too. But, you gain so much more if you're really into that thing, it comes back. And I can stand here now and say, here, it's here, it happened. So I can't stress enough that as you do work in the beginning of your career, you think about every moment and know that every moment matters. And it sounds, like a cliche, but I'll give you an example. And this relates exactly to the story. I had worked as an apprentice for someone, and then I got my chance to go out and be like the realtor on their own. Still in the same company, and working with this woman. And I agreed, okay, I'm gonna sit on my first Sunday open house, by myself. It's going to be really cool. I'll know everything about that property. All right. So in this case, the only thing that was available was the middle of the summer in Los Angeles. It was 95 degrees in July, and it was this little condo in Beverly Hills. A little condo in Beverly Hills is $500,000, but that's where we are and how we live here. And that was a while ago for that price. But I thought, I'm going to research this thing, and I'm going to know everything about the whole neighborhood and all the comps and who buys and what's sold and what's on the market. And then I'm going to go and have this open house from 2 to 5 on a Sunday and, show up and be there. Okay. So I show up for the open house. I got all my paperwork. I'm there. I'm, ready to go. It's 2, it's 3 o'clock. It's 4 o'clock. It's 4:30. Not one person comes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, oh, Christ, this is a waste. All right. At 5 minutes to 5, this woman shows up. She comes in, and she clearly knows a lot about the market already. So she starts talking to me, and I start giving her back the facts. And about 10 minutes into it, she says, you sound like you know what you're doing. Like, you want to work together? This one's not right for me, but let's go find something. And I said, sure. Okay. So I can make the story a lot longer, but we went and started looking at other properties for about 4 months. And it came into the holiday season. And she had me for dinner, and I thought, oh, great, we're going to talk about something we found, we're going to buy it. And she said, I have to tell you that I bought something without you. And I thought, oh my God, this is like, here I did all this work with this person, and I committed to it, and I showed up, and I was consistent and strong, and she respects me, and now this happens. And then she explained that what she bought had to go through an agent because it was a direct sale, because it was new construction, et cetera. That's a whole nother story. But the end of this is that at the same dinner, at the end, she pulled out of her purse a check for a very healthy amount of money and said, this is a gift to you. This is not a commission, but because you have been and showed up and know what you're doing, and I respect how you've worked already, I just wanted to give you something as a gift for the holidays. And I was blown away. I was like, whoa. Okay, the best part of this story is that this woman, to this day now, 10, 12 years later, 13 years later, has referred to me over $300 million worth of business now.
Wow.
And those are the people, you don't know who they are. It's the Julia Roberts moment in the store where it's like, big mistake to treat me like that. So for me, she's one of my best clients now. She's purchased things with me, but she's referred me to, 10, 12, $15 million house sales now, because she knows how I work and she trusts me. And it's as simple as that. And I think a lot of the real estate people in this business are often perceived as, out to just do that one thing, which is that I'm going to make a buck, I'm going to get a commission, I'm going to get a house sold. But first and foremost, it's like, what does the client want? Where do they want to be? How am I going to answer that? And I'll take it from there. And you win. You win every time if you do that, because the client comes back and they want you, not somebody else. So for me, that's part of the circle of how I work. It's just the same client's going to come back to me over and over again, and new clients come into the fold because those clients say, this guy's great. He's not like everybody else. Another nickname I have is a secret agent, because I've got a lot of celebrity clients that I work with that I just don't talk about.
Right.
We have a number of shows in our office, the agency, which I'm sure a lot of your viewers are familiar with, $1 Million Listing. We do HGTV. We have a lot of stuff going on with the Housewives of Beverly Hills, because of Mauricio, my partner, his wife Kyle. So there's a lot of eyes on what we do at our office, but a lot of the clients that are significant don't necessarily want to be in that milieu, on those TV shows. They're proud that they're out there and that we're doing our work on those kinds of shows. And I've been on some of that stuff, but more importantly, it's about how you relate to that client and their, private life. So I've been able to be very successful with a number of clients that be fun to write books about, but I can't.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. So, kind of going back to your first mentor, if you will. I mean, how important do you feel it is, for somebody that's starting out to find that mentor? And then, it's hard to, because these mentors, like, hey, if I want you to mentor me, well, you're busy, man. You're busy, you're busy. It's not one of those things where you're just going to mentor. Like, how do you successfully get that mentor to agree to mentor you or give you some of their time?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. That's a really good question. And I think it's hard to if you're coming as the new agent into the world, you're like, is someone going to ask me, or am I going to ask them? Or am I just going to show up and be who I am and someone will find me and it'll work? That's a really difficult one. I have to say I was very lucky to have, I was who I was, and this woman said that he's a good guy, like that could, he'll help me. So I think the main thing is maybe be available in the best way you can be to the people that you've identified as someone that you could get along with. It might be in different companies, and that takes research and stuff, and then pursue them. I have a number of people that now work with me. I like to call them associates, not assistants, but they work with me and for me. And when I think of answering that question that way, they've all come to me organically. So, it's a client that says, I've got a nephew or someone who's in the business now but needs guidance. Do you want to meet with them? On this end, meeting with someone new like that, the perception is, am I going to get along with them? Are they going to help my business? But not in a selfish way, which means, the whole business grows. So that's the biggest part about this. And I think to find a mentor that can share their business with you, but also allow you to have your own, but mix it together is the ideal thing. I know, another example of this I'll tell you is I have I call it a handshake partner, which is really true. Aileen Kimura is another partner at the agency, and we both helped start the agency, and I can talk about that too. But 6 years ago, we came into the company together, having worked in another company on a handshake deal. So we basically said, hey, you need help, I need help. We don't really have assistants yet, all that stuff. And this is, 10 years ago. And said, hey, all right, let's do it. We don't have no paperwork to this day, but we split everything 50-50, which guess what? It took 2 people and it made 3 people's work almost instantly. And from that 3 people, then we just went out, and so there are clients I deal with that she probably has no connection with, and vice versa. And then there's some we do together, and then, how do you relate to that? Same thing's happening now, and I'm realizing it. The people that are working for me have the same philosophy, because you sniff them out, you find them, and they do the same. And that business is growing faster and bigger every day just because of that. So I don't know if I really answered how to get a job as a mentor, clearly, but it's a process, and you got to open yourself up to it.
Yep.
check out all the different companies. I know that we work very specifically with a mentor program at the agency that's very cool, because it is about taking on one person and teaching them not only the specifics of how to work at the agency, which is very different than a lot of companies, and it's also about how you can take care of your clients. So
Yep, love it. So I got one more question before, and then I want to kind of talk to you about what led you to starting the agency and all of that. But you talked about with your past clients, right, and developing those great relationships. And I mean, most buyers and sellers say that they love their realtor, but they never do a repeat transaction because they forget their name. Like, what do you do? Because as much business as you do, I mean, it's got to be hard to like stay on top of all of that and keep those relationships going as all this new stuff's coming in.
forget me. That's the whole thing. Yeah, you definitely stay with communication. It's like, check in with them, tell them about stuff, even when they're not active in the market. Because guess what? They're still interested. Everybody wants to look at real estate or wants to know about it. So, if you've sold them a house in a certain area, let's say, our job is to stay on top of all the stuff we do. And for me, it's all across Los Angeles, because I have clients everywhere and properties everywhere. But staying on top of the market in those different neighborhoods, and then letting your clients know, hey, this came on the market just down the block. I know, it's cool because your house, we bought it for that, and look at this being sold now. And your relationship, you maintain that relationship in that way, and in other ways that you reach out to the person on an ongoing basis. And it takes a lot of energy and a lot of focus, but I'll tell you, those people are going to remember you and say, oh yeah, that's my agent, when the next thing happens that I need to do, in real estate. And that happens all the time. I know it works, because I'll get a call a year after I've talked to somebody, and they're either saying, I know you were so great with this, and I got your emails about this property 3 months ago, and thank you for sending that, but I got a friend now, and you guys would be great together. So here, they're going to call you. Or I need to do something new now, and there's nobody else. It's just, we have a relationship. And maybe that's the biggest part about it, is that your human connection to a client, if you can start that in your first transaction and have it, it's not, you maybe not be best friends, but you've got things in common, or you're relating to that person. You hold on to that, because ultimately anybody that wants to do business and have fun doing it. They don't want to go into the business and say, oh God, I got to do this again. I'm going to call that person again. It should be great. I trust the guy. He's on top of it. I remember him. Where's the number? I'm going to call him now. And that's usually the energy I get when I pick up a client again and start working with them. It's like, let's do it. And we have a Mauricio coined it actually, but we have a hashtag no assholes policy in our office. And that's a whole nother thing, but it does work. Hopefully it works. It seems like it is that, agents, no assholes, and then clients, hopefully, you define your client by who you are. So, I think we've all had that experience when you meet an agent and you kind of get what their personality is, up, down, sideways, and guess what? Their clients are the same, and somebody who's really great and energetic in this, and every other agent loves, then usually the clients are pretty cool too. We all have the ones that misbehave, but it's how you translate that misbehavior, and when you do a deal that can make or break it. So.
I mean, there's definitely something to, the energy, the vibration that you bring and attracting, I mean, I truly believe that. And with the importance of the past clients, I mean, you're living proof. You have one client that sent you $300 million worth of business for you. I mean, that's more than most realtors would fathom doing over a whole career. And that's from one client. I mean, that's just insane.
Yeah, no, I'm very lucky for that. And if you draw a family tree, if you will, of how a client works, even from that one client, and not just the referral business and the properties that she said, this is the guy, use him, he'll sell it. But then you got these people who have now said, oh, that was great, and we got I didn't leave any money on the table, and the house got sold, and we're still talking, and it's a good relationship. I got a whole family down here of people that maybe you need to see, or my kids, or whatever. And And that's maybe a big point for people that are starting out in this business. Just remember, every little thing you do matters. And it sounds so corny, but it really does. And an agent will remember you for good things and for bad things. And they won't forget. 10 years later, they'll be like, oh, that was that guy that I did with, or that's the guy that, God, that was so great. And I like to think that I'm on the latter part of that, where people, when you've got a listing sheet, you can't deny that people, when they look at the listing sheet, the second thing they do after, oh, cool property, is they go down to the bottom and go, who's representing it? Is this going to be a good experience or a bad experience? And then you see the name and you go, oh, great, that's good. I know that person. So it's all about relationships, and it's all about maintaining those relationships from day one. So if you want to misbehave in the beginning of your career and, do things without a lot of integrity and, but I got it done, and you leave a couple people in the dust, those people will come back. It's all woven together. So
Yeah.
I know that's why I continue to be successful.
So you've got this great real estate career going. I mean, at what point? I know you said it was about 6 years ago or so that you guys decided to start your own company. But what led you to that decision? How did you know that you wanted to do that? What was kind of happening in your life at that point? I mean, what led you to that?
I'll take part credit for it, because let me back it up so that I don't know if anybody else has been on your show from the agency, but so just to give it a little bit more history, it was really two founders, Mauricio Umansky, which a lot of you probably know, and Billy Rose as well. They're both were very significant and successful on their own separate companies, as were my partner Aileen, myself, and three or four others. And we actually started 4 years before that, kind of a share group, if you will. And we met, we're all in different companies. We met every 2 weeks on a Thursday morning. There were about 20 of us actually, and we shared all our information offline. So, hey, I got this coming up, or this celebrity client needs this. Do you have anything? Great, let's see if we can connect them. Because all the people in that group were people that were doing a certain level of business at that point. I was lucky to be at that level. I actually felt very lucky to be part of the group when we started it, but I was one of the ones that started it with Billy. So that became the boilerplate for the agency, really, without knowing it. It was really Billy and Mauricio that came together and looked at each other, and Mauricio's idea, like, I want to start a company. Billy, you want to start it with me? Very different people, really different people, and they remain different, but that's why it works. So, but the idea was that we shared all that information in this other group offline between, Sotheby's and Hilton and Highland and a bunch of the other companies that are out there and prominent. And we were doing deals all the time, not on the market usually, or if they were on the market, we had a relationship and we could get in early or something. So that premise was what Billy and Mauricio came together and said, let's make a company that's based on some of the things I just talked about: communication, collaboration, share your information. Not share your client necessarily, but share all information around the client. And you can do better deals, make better deals, sell things more, and make more money, And I was one of the first people that they looked at and said, because, again, Paul's personality and their experience in being in this group for so long, that's one that we want. So, hey, we want to join this and be one of the partners. And so, and then I started contributing to the company and growing it and giving it ideas, and it is what it is now. So there were really 5 or 6 of us that in the beginning that put it together. In the first year and a half, we just exploded with business. But there were only about 30 of us, I think, by the end of the first year, but we'd already done $1.5 billion worth of business as gross. We are now at our 6th year. I think we're closing $9 billion total sales, and we're now about 180 agents. It is very cool. We're growing. We have our Hills office where I am, Brentwood. We're opening in Palisades, Palm Springs next week. Yeah. We have an office in Mexico, in Cabo. We're looking at offices in a number of other places. In Calabasas, we're also open. So we're not necessarily franchising, but we are moving into other markets as well with the philosophy that we have, which I think is the most important part about the whole thing. That's why the reason I'm still in real estate, because I could do a lot of other stuff, obviously, from what my history is is because I get to do it this way, which is, it's a lot of fun. We recognized from the very beginning that we're a luxury product. So, and people are doing this now, but they weren't doing it then 5 years ago. Let's combine a number of different luxury items together and sell not only the house, but all those other things. Let's elevate everybody. So let's not only have an open house, but let's get a designer to do it. Let's hang art from an art gallery. Let's do a red carpet with, a magazine, and let's have a great car there too, and a wine and food or whatever works together. All those companies benefit from it's the same client. Same client's buying that house as buying the Ducati or this car or, the new Rolls Royce or something at that level, So it was a pretty simple thing, but what it created was synergy, and we've now exploded with that synergy. So it's part of our, at least mine, and I know other agents in the company, their hallmark is like an unveiling of a property is a lot more than just opening a door and it's got 4 bedrooms and, do you want to see it again? So it's cool. That's part of our success. I mean, we one of the first projects that put us on the map, and this is part of our new development side of our company that's also happening, exploding right now, was the Ritz-Carlton downtown in LA. It was not being successfully marketed before we took it on. That was the first year of our company, and they came to Mauricio and Billy and said, all the other companies came and showed up with all this, stacks and stacks of information and all the bullet points about how they're going to sell the place and the demographics and up and down and sideways. And you guys came in with this like little plan and said, here's how we're going to do it. And we can start tomorrow. And you know what? We know all those guys. We want you. Go. So that's what started this whole thing in a lot of ways. And in the first year and a half of our business, we sold out the Ritz, 160 units at record prices. And some were bulk sales. But part of how we did that was by creating a story, tell a story about a unit, have someone like Kobe show up and do a dinner or a cocktail or something in one of the units, and some famous artist or retina's there and we're hanging his art. Why not? They want exposure. It helps us. Everybody wins. So we continue to do that, and we do it on all these different layers now. And it's just, so I'm having a lot of fun at the same time I'm doing this, I guess is the point.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. So what do you find though is, because I gotta imagine with the expansion that you guys are getting within or are experiencing with the agency in all these different cities, almost 200 agents, plus growing your own business. I mean, do you find it to be challenging to keep everything together with that? I mean, as far as managing your time and.
Yeah, it especially pregnant right now, I might say, because I'm hosting. It's my kind of baby, but it's part of the agency. Big give. Next week, we're sponsoring the Los Angeles Art Show downtown. We've done it 3 years. This is our 3rd year, and I kind of was crazy enough to start the idea 2 years ago, and it was actually a huge success because it's a big reach out to client relationships. And it's all the VIPs. So we host the VIP lounge, and I'm in the middle right now of handling all of that, plus all my business, plus worrying about the agency. So, I'm kind of thinking, I'm crazy, but it does work. And I think the reason that it works is because you maintain the same theme throughout all of those things. So in other words, if you're trying to be one thing to clients and trying to be a different personality to help run a company and trying to be another person to do this other endeavor, it doesn't work. If you're that same person, whatever it is, whatever I am, all across the board, that makes it easy to tie all that stuff together. And all the parts of all those pieces want to be together. So, the clients are excited that I know that I'm working with is they're going to come to the art show next week because they know about it. And then the other side business of the agency are cool because they want to, participate in stuff and they're behind this. So it all weaves together. And at the same time, if somebody's selling their house, they think, great, the agency's got a great reputation. I'm being represented really well. They're doing a lot of these other things too, but all it does is make my product more rich to sell. So it's a hard balance. It's a hard balance, but you just maintain the energy,
How do you know what to focus on, what not to focus on? Because I got to imagine, like, you have so much coming at you, so many different opportunities. Like, how do you know what to say yes to and what to say no to, and then make sure? Because again, with all this stuff going on, it'd be easy to lose that focus, right?
I think It's kind of an intuitive process, so it's hard to answer that. But the real answer is that at a certain point, maybe all along in your career, this is true, but it's at different levels of it. You have to be able to say no in a good way. You can't always say yes. You can say no in a way that maybe moves the business over here, or you can say no in a way that says, I'm no longer the best person for that, but here's somebody else I know. So there's a benefit there because you win on that relationship too, and you say yes to all the things that you know how to do really well now because your career keeps changing, hopefully elevating. So, I'm now very good, I like to think, at selling houses that are over $10 million. And, I'm listing one that's 35 million in another month. And, my level of competency has gone up, but I still maintain relationships with clients who have, buildings that they might sell at one point that have little condos in them, want to lease them out for $2,500 a month. I don't do that work anymore because I can't service them correctly, but I can maintain my presence with them as a client. And they trust that, same language that Paul's speaking here is going to be the same language that this associate that's worked with Paul is going to come to the table with. So I'm okay with that. It's a little bit of Paul, and I think that's part of how you maintain this. And then that person below you starts to rise with the same ethics and ways of working. And then they become successful on their own and they do other work with you and you both make more money and, all that stuff. So it's a constant check-in, but it's also knowing when to evaluate and pull in, let the thing happen, and be part of the control of it, but not be all over it because you just can't. And then if you try, I guess what I'm saying is if you try to do that, you will fail at it because you're going to be present for all those things, and then there's just going to be one that doesn't happen. And if you say to every single one of them, I'm here 150, 150, 150, 150%, without saying, I'm here with my team too on this particular one, but on this other project you got, I'm here because you need me for that one. On this one that's smaller, it can be all of us because we've created this great synergy. So, yeah.
So you mean trust for sure equals capacity, right? And you've got to be able to trust and be able to delegate. So I look at like my market, like my real estate team. I mean, we're selling like $200,000 houses, So for me to sit there and say, I delegate all this stuff off, but you're talking, you're dealing with high level properties. Was that a difficult process for you to be able to delegate that stuff out and let go of that stuff?
Yeah, it always is because you care. At least I care. And then, in all of this business, some of the people that have those lesser commodity products also have the bigger ones too. So like, well, you do this over here, I need it here too, So you definitely have to weigh it all the time about how much bandwidth you're giving everything. But I think the most important thing, and I say it again, it's as simple as this, is your level of communication. I know I have some clients that call me 5 times a day when we're in the middle of deals, and you need to answer the call 5 times a day, because that's what they need. It may be we're talking about the same thing again, but they know that, you're right in the mix of where they need to hear you and see you and have you be. There are some clients that don't bother me, just get it done. Check in with me afterwards. I trust you. And you know that rhythm. But the point is maintain communication. I'm pretty good intuitively to know that right about the time I feel like I haven't talked to that client today or this week, and I don't act on it, then sure enough, an hour later, I get an email or like, hi, well, what's going on? I just hadn't heard from you for a while. And I know you're doing your work, but, and it's like, you want to avoid that. You never want that to happen. You always want to be the person that is, hey, I know we haven't talked today, but I just want to let you know that we're still on the same page with this client. Nothing's changed on that, but I'm here. So that makes a huge difference. And I think that's how you manage your clients and keep them,
Yeah. So when I think of the agency, because I'm not in California, I'm out in Phoenix, Arizona, and but I think most people that are outside of your marketplace that know the agency know you guys for your out of the box, awesome videos and marketing and stuff. And then I go sit there and think, well, man, when you're selling $35 million properties, I can't really fathom what that's like. I'm selling $200,000 properties. What are the differences in that, and how do you get creative like you guys do?
Okay, so you can take it, so you can pare it down, all right, and you can even look at it like when the agency first started, could be equivalent to like, okay, I'm selling a $200,000 house, even though we were selling big ones because we'd come from other relationships already. But we had six of us. We had one person in marketing. It was like, ooh, let's have an in-house market campaign. What a great idea! Instead of farm it out or hire the printer and all that stuff. So now that marketing group has branched off into what we call agency creative. It's a whole really separate company, but it's under the same roof. So those people are creating our marketing materials for all of these properties at the lowest level and the highest level. You could ask for the same materials for the lower level and pay equivalent to that because we have the bandwidth to create it now. So like brochure or video or whatever, and certain things cost the same. So maybe you don't do that for this, but you do it for that. But I think that the strategy remains the same, which is we want to try to find a story for each property, and how that story is found could be through getting our marketing people to walk through with you, and then you create a dialogue and whatever it is. So it's a little bit more than just, hey, I got that listing and I signed it up and it's in the MLS. It's a nuance. It takes a little bit more. But that's the success we've seen because we clearly are having fun with it, and clients want to have fun. They don't oh my God, what do you think we could do with that property? Oh, that's cool, or that storyline, or and again, I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but again, it's creating material that might not be just about the house, but it's sophisticated material that you've created for a marketing campaign that draws someone into that. So we might tell a story on our blog, which I know a lot of your readers look at, and we have a huge reach out on the internet. But we only put it out once a week. It's not every day. It doesn't bombard you with like some companies do with emails every day. This is about let's do a magazine. Let's tell a couple stories. All the other stories live if you click through it online and you go back and it relates back to the website. But maybe for this particular property, it could be the $200,000 one, or the 500, or the million, or it could be that $60 million house. We'll tell a story that is not just about the house. It's about maybe the architect that built the house, or maybe it's about the style of a designer in the $200,000 condo. And there's a link to that designer in the story. It also relates back to the house or the product, and everybody wins. But you maintain, you're online a little bit longer looking at that property because you're quietly selling it. It's more subtle, sophisticated. So yeah, we have the bandwidth now, and we're lucky. We can do that with the lesser properties as well as we can do it with the larger ones because our reach is, our cost is effective to do those things. So I'd like to think that we give that, both property types, shout out in the right way.
Oh, what's cool about a lot of the videos that you guys do and the content that you put out is even if somebody's not looking for a house, right? They're entertaining, right? And then next thing you know, they're sharing them, and then they're sharing them, and you get so many eyeballs on for somebody that maybe isn't even in the market, but they watch it and they share it, and then all of a sudden that person is.
It's as simple as that, and that's the thing that it sounds corny, but well, that's obvious, but not a lot of people do it. Like most people see the value right in front of them, which is here's the house. And I'm going to put it on the market for this price, and this is what the market says it should sell for, and I'm going to sell it. But what most people are not seeing is that, hey, I've got this product, and I'm going to layer it with different stories, because those stories are going to take your business in all these other directions, not just for that one house. Like I'm short-sighted, like I've got this product to sell, or I'm going to sell that. Okay, I'm done. Well, that was exciting. I've got this house to sell. I'm going to tell a story about it. And I'm going to pull in these different luxury good items and other parts of it. And those people, as you just said, are going to tell somebody else because it's just a cool story. They're not buying the house, and that person, and all of a sudden you've got all these other people involved, eyes on the product, your career, what you do. And they go, yeah, I want my house, or I want my friend's house to be sold that way. I want that guy or that girl,
What do you find to be the biggest challenge, if you will, between that $35 million listing compared to the $500,000. I mean, I know that there's far less buyers out there that can afford that, but like, what are some of the other challenges that maybe people that aren't in luxury, like myself, that just wouldn't know of?
Well, you have a very, and this is not about people necessarily. It's about a type of buyer. You have a very sophisticated buyer at that level. Somebody who's buying a $35 million house probably knows about everything that a $35 million house should have, or has lived it, or has already been there with that. They're not, unless they're absolutely new money from some weird circumstance like the lottery, they've had a lifestyle that they are going to want to see in that property when they experience it. So the amount of work it takes to create that is significant. It's not again, you can create a beautiful product and hopefully it speaks for itself, and it does. But that product has got so many different layers to it now, and the way people live at that level. And you, as the steward of the property, has to know as much, if not more, as the people who built it, as the client who owns it now that's selling it, as the client that's coming in. So in a sense, you have to live the lifestyle of the client in the house to present it well. So that takes a lot of knowledge about all sorts of luxury goods and the house itself. And it's pretty significant planning for that. If you're planning a party or an event, it's not just opening the door again. It's about layers of participation in that. And then who do you invite to it? And we're lucky to have, and I guess this is another part of anyone's career, is create a database from day one of people that and keep that database growing and updated all the time. Because what's significant as a success point for the agency, and I didn't talk about this earlier and I should have, is that part of our motto is that we're sharing all of our information across the board, agent to agent. So it's not, the idea is you don't walk into the office like you might in some companies or in a law office or something, and your work's on the desk there, and it's like, don't look at my work, my clients, because I don't want you to see it. The idea is like, we all know who our clients are because we've kind of registered them in a way. We have a very sophisticated inter-office marketing thing that we spend millions of dollars on that people would like to know about and they don't. But it really does work, and it codifies everything that we do, from sales to clients and how they interact with us and when the last time we talked to them and all that stuff. But the point of that is that we have a lot more information at our fingertips for a single client to find out about, like, what are the other sales that happen that are like my $35 million property off market? We have all that information because we share it all. So it helps elevate that client's success story in selling. That can be at any level. But it's the biggest part of that is that, Mauricio is sharing information with me and I'm sharing information with him, are surrounding the single clients that we have that most people don't share, because there's a trust factor again. What is that going to mean if I give them that information? Then that might get misused in a certain way, and that's not how we do it. We use the information, but to the benefit of the clients. So that's part of the marketing of like a $35 million or $25 million house, is knowing your clientele and having a database to reach out to, or getting the people in there and they're not the buyer, they're not the buyer, but they live like that. But guess what? All it takes is him coming in or her coming in and saying, oh my God, my friend so-and-so, you got to see the house. I'm going to call them. They're flying in from Hong Kong, or whatever. And those are the kind of, you got to always think to another level of these things. There's more to it than just what's right in front of you. And that's the part I think a lot of realtors just think, oh yeah, I'm going to check the box. I have a house to sell and I'm going to put it on the market and hopefully people will show up. In this level of this, it's like, I'm going to put the house on the market and I'm going to tell a great story around it. And that's going to bring people to this property that live like that, or have the people, or have the connections to those people, so that it is exposed in a way that is sophisticated, but unique. So you can do that with a $200,000 condo too. It's a different story.
Do you find yourself being attracted to this business, and especially the luxury market, because of the deep connections, or because of being the great artist that you are? I mean, like, what do you find yourself being more drawn to?
I'm definitely attracted to doing the business the way we're doing it right now because of the creative aspect of it. So allowing myself to be creative in it. Like, for instance, next week, LA Art Show, we're going to have 7,000 people descend on this thing as VIPs, and we're hosting the VIP lounge. And I've got this year's idea is about focus on Latin American art and Cuban art. Okay. There are a lot of cool people coming and people speaking. But what I decided to do this year was create the lounge. It's like a big space, and leave the outside walls blank, except that during the opening night VIP party, there are street artists that we've picked out that are painting the walls of the lounge as it's happening. So it's like art, and it's happening now, and it engages the clients, and all these new clients want to come, and then you meet new people, and it just keeps going. And so that gets me excited because hey, I sell more houses because I had a great time and related to all these new people. And so that keeps me going in this business because it's got other layers to it than as I perceive it to be just a business. Those guys, the other guys, my partners call me sort of the reluctant businessman because I'm kind of the artist going like, yeah, we'll do this. But that energy that I have is infectious. And so a client says, oh my God, I want to be around that. Like, you sell my house, because we'll have fun doing it. Yeah, it might be stressful. I might be in a bad mood sometimes, but it's about this energy. There's no energy there. Who cares? So yeah, I to answer that, it's definitely that I can remain artistic and creative in a realm of high end business, which is pretty serious. So,
You definitely have had some massive successes in this career and your previous career, but I'm sure you had, I hate the word failure because they're typically our best learning experience that really define us to who we are. I mean, what have been a couple of the biggest failures, learning experiences, however you want to state it, that really defined you to the man you are today?
Okay, that's a good one. I haven't answered that one in a while. So I think that if you want to talk about it, it's not failures, but it's transition moments. That might be the answer. In other words, huge success as a dancer. For most people, that would translate into like, now I'll be a choreographer, or I'll stay in New York and try to make it into another part of that career. For me, it was, what, I'm done. I have these other goals. I'm going to go do them. So the transition is kind of the hard part, because it's like I went from, I'm really successful, everybody knows me in New York and around the world, dancing and performing, and have this whole career and lots of great photos and videos of it and all that stuff. But now I'm, who are you in real estate in LA? I don't know who you are, or care, and those first years feel like I'm a failure, or if you want to use that word, or I'm like, I'm not, I am really potential here, but my potential in this business isn't even perceived yet. So that's one of those moments, I think, when you make a change like that. And so for me, I had a lot of moments in those beginning years where it's like, I'm up, and now this isn't working, and I'm going to go again, and it's like starting the car. So yeah, that's probably the transition time was probably what you might call as the down of the up rather than the failure. That would be one example of that. Oh,
I mean, it's definitely those great humbling experiences, because sometimes we can.
Yeah, well, and maybe that's a good point, is that you got to remember when you're like the guy on the bottom of the totem pole, and there's a reason you're there for whatever that moment is, because your ability to go, okay, all right, I'll be back, is just as makes you a better man or person than anything else does. Because you can talk about all the success and stuff, but if you're talking about that all the time and you just kind of shout it all the time, people stop listening to that too. They want to see somebody that's being dynamic and caring, and it's like, hey, that wasn't as successful this time. I'm going to work even harder next time, but we did it, so.
Yeah, awesome. So if the poll today, knowing what you know right now, like everything that you've learned through all these experiences of your life, if the poll today could go back to the poll in the hospital bed, recovering from the broken leg, and
Yeah.
give yourself, your past self, two pieces of advice, knowing what you know now today, what would that look like?
One of those pieces of advice is to say to myself, "Hey, Paul, uh, trust the person that you know you are, because that's going to only get better. Don't try to be somebody else to go to the next place. Just commit to what feels right in your personality, and that will also help you find the experiences that then are right for you. They just will. It'll define you. The people that come to you because they see you in a certain way, and that's hopefully the way you like yourself to be, then help define your career, whatever way. Those. It's just like reflecting my energy of having learned how to focus as a dancer for so long, and it wasn't just the physical. It was like the mental of like, this is how you do it, and I'm going to commit to that every day. That's the same energy that this woman who became this referral client forever, she saw in me as a realtor, which was, I'm going to remember how to work and I'm going to commit to that. And so that attracted her, if you will. She could have come in and been the last person in that open house and I was like, hi, you're sorry, no one came. How are you? Bye. And that was it. But it wasn't that. It was because I was being me, which in part of being me was just being prepared and excited about it. Because if I'm not excited about it, then why am I doing it? Why do it at all? So I think the minute that you feel like you're in a place where it's like, what am I doing here? Why is this? Then you got to really step back and go, okay, who is the me that needs to be, and where do I need to be? It must not be here. Because, and you see a lot of people that think they're supposed to be wherever they are, and then 10 years later they're stuck there. And there may be some real estate agents that operate that way, like that. Well, this is all I knew how to do, kind of thing. And that has no bearing to what I'm doing. I don't even get that. Like, well, then do something else, So I feel lucky to be able to be me and be successful in the real estate business. And the reason I'm successful is because I'm being me. People, it's infectious. You want to be around it.
Yeah, love it, man. So what keeps you leveling up? Because you get to the point where good can be the worst enemy of greatness, and it's so easy to get caught up in the good enough. And we see so many people that get caught up in that game. They're driven and they lose that drive because life becomes pretty comfortable. What keeps you never allowing yourself to be comfortable and always going for greatness?
Yeah, I think what it is that I am constantly finding new and creative ways to do what we do. So, and that's inherent also why, the agency is like, I'm more attached to the agency than anything I've ever done before, because it's like having a baby or a kid. Like, okay, we're going to look at them grow, and you care about that. So there's always a new story to find out about and a new thing to learn. And within the element of what we do as realtors or this business, there's always, I can't even predict, like this interview. I can't predict what's going to happen this afternoon. I've got appointments with people, new people, old people. There will be something by the end of today that will be like, oh my God, can you imagine that's what happened or didn't happen or, is part of the story. And that's what makes it interesting for me to always be new every day and not be like, I'm comfortable. Yeah, I have a lot of money. Okay, great. Or whatever that comfortable is, it's, but I couldn't live like that. I couldn't live like that. So it is about, let's take it to the next place and let's find a new great way to live.
I love it, man. So, Paul, what's the best place? If our listeners are listening right now and they want to, learn more about you, reach out to you, learn more about the agency. We have a lot of listeners that are in the LA area or might be close to your offices, and maybe they want to interview about becoming an agent or what it would take to become an agent at the agency. What's the best place for them to go to do that?
Well, there's two things. One is, if I'm ever going to go out and interview or like make contact with someone, especially in today's day and age, we have what's called the internet, and we have all that information on there. So, the first thing I do is I go on our site, which is pretty simple. It's www.theagencyre.com. It's as simple as that. Go on the site and read all about it. We have a ton of information there. There are new stories every day that we're telling. It's set up like a magazine, but a website. All of our bios are there for all the agents, but it tells you a lot of information about how we work. And we have a mission statement there, all sorts of stuff. A lot of people have copied us now, but it's a really kind of cool place to get the information and know and then come to the office, or Beverly Hills or what have you, and that's all on the site too. But with that information, so that you're prepared to make contact with people. But you can also within the agency's site, it's easy to look me up on there, and you can contact me the same way. My email is really simple. It's plester@theagencyre.com. So first initial, last name at theagencyre.com, and we're all available. I love learning about new people and seeing new people. There are quite a number of people that would like to be part of the agency right now. We seem to be very popular that way, but it's doors always open for discussion. That's the whole point.
Yeah, love it. And those who are watching and listening, we'll make it really easy. We'll have a link right below where you can just click on and go check it out and make sure that you do that. Paul, I started this podcast, man, it's been almost 2 years now that we've been doing this. And I started this because there's so much information out there. There's a lot of good information, but holy crap, is there a lot of bad information too, right? So I wanted to create a place where there's no smoke and mirrors. We interview the doers like yourself, guys that are in the trenches, that are actually creating success, overcoming adversity, and doing it, right? So we could have a place to give that information back to our listeners. And with that being said, those that are watching right now are here because they want to go out there and create the life they know they want and deserve. Do you have any last words of maybe motivation or inspiration or advice that you'd like to leave them with so they can go truly create the life they know they really want?
Yeah, I would say again one more time that connect with the things that you love about what you do and what your passions are. If that passion is seen by other people, it's infectious. They come to you, and you will gain clientele just by being passionate about whether it's a specific real estate aspect or it's another part of your life that you've brought to real estate. Don't be afraid to share all that stuff, because the most important part about relating to clients and doing great business and more business is being relatable to the client. They want to know that you're a person. You're not just writing contract and doing this thing for them. That's all about a negotiation. It's about this cool, great person that's got three-dimensional qualities to them, that cares about what they're doing, and sky's the limit at that point. So.
Yeah, powerful words. And those that are watching and listening, you guys, I know every podcast says this, but information without implementation is truly just the start of delusion. Information is no longer power. It's taking that information, taking action on that, and then creates power in your world. So you guys just heard from one of the top guys on the planet at what he does. Take something that Paul shared with you, go out there and implement it so you can create that life that you know you want and deserve. And Paul, man, I know how busy you are. This has been a massive honor having the show. I truly appreciate you being here.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I love what you do, and look forward to more. All right.
Well, thank you, sir. All right, you guys, we will see you next time.
Bye.